Welcome back to the In Good Kompany Podcast on behalf of Manchester TV on the local TV network. And we've got one more than we had last week, and we've got two physical specimens this week. So you probably didn't see the one last week, guys, because obviously they wouldn't put it out because it was me talking to a picture, and that was about it. So it's not much fun, but a lot better this week. Well, just a bit better this week, anyway. We've got joining me on In Good Kompany to chat all things Manchester City. Not the greatest chat we're going to have today, but yeah, we've got to take it on the chin. We're big lads. We'll take it on the chin. I have with me Paul. How are you, mate? How's Paul doing today?
Still recovering from yesterday, alcohol and disappointment. So it's not good, is it? Not
in that order, or alcohol and disappointment and alcohol, a bit of both.
It blended in. It all blended in and made it worse, probably. Yeah.
And also we have Ray. How is Ray today?
Yeah, I'm all right. I'm just a little bit tired and disappointed. I had a job yesterday down in Kent, so I had to drive down there in the snow, and I just finished work when the game had just started and Spurs had scored, and I thought I don't really fancy watching this. I kind of knew what was coming. I did a podcast. I did something on YouTube with somebody on Friday, a Spurs fan, and I predicted 2-2. I just kind of knew what was coming.
Very nearly was 2. I would have been happy with 2-2.
I'd have been happy with 2-2. I thought to myself, I've got a choice now. Okay, I can either watch the match and then get home at midnight or 1 o'clock in the morning, watch the match on the telly down there somewhere, or I can put my foot down, get home and watch the boxing. Yeah, and I tell you what, that was a terrible night in Manchester because you had the football first, and then you had that pretty lame boxing match afterwards. So whichever way I did it, I was going to be disappointed. But like you say, you got to take it on the chin. I don't know which one, but you've got to take it on the chin.
Yeah, well, there we go. Paul, obviously it was Spurs, the visitors to the old Etihad, a 5:30 p.m. kickoff. It never goes well for me, 5:30 p.m. kickoffs. Paul, a summary of the game, City versus Spurs. Your thoughts on the game overall?
To be honest with you, it was like they were very Spursy, weren't they? They came, they did a number on us. It was their big day out, and it was the Son and Kane show, wasn't it, really? I don't know why we can't play against Spurs. You know, they do the same thing every time we play them. And it's a long ball over the top, bang it to Son. Son gets it and finds Kane in the middle. That's all they do. It's a fantastic sort of like version of what Wimbledon used to do, but it's a little bit more skillful, if you like. I just when they want 1-0 up, you kind of know that it's going to be one of them days at the office because the players collectively just don't seem to perform together. When they do perform, they perform as we've said this before. I think, Bernard, we've done this before, and we said when we perform as a team. And when we need it, when we have a bad day, there's a couple of players that aren't at it. And that was, our defence wasn't at it yesterday, and that was the difference, I thought.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I'll come to you in a minute, Ray. I mean, my little thoughts. I thought they did a job on us. I thought Conte played it superbly from his point of view. He used his resources the best he could. Obviously, we didn't, and obviously, Pep's little plans sort of went out of the window fairly early on. And we were always chasing the game. I thought we were never in control of it really. When we start throwing crosses into that box, we know we're in trouble. We're looking for a 7-foot centre forward that we haven't got, and that's what we were doing for a lot of that match, which shows things weren't right. Ray, your sort of brief thoughts on the game overall?
Well, like Paul says, we're a team, and when City play really well, you play well as a team. It's not the individuals playing really well. You might get 1 or 2 shining here and there, or 3 or 4 if you're doing really well. But when the team are at it, it's because of the tactics and the team ethic. And yesterday, there were too many people who weren't at it. In defence, Rodri, clinically, we weren't there. That game, you heard me talking about this, Bernard, when on Bolt from the Blue, and Mike's asking why we won, was it 5-0 or something, and why against Sporting, that was it. Why am I a little bit, thinking that wasn't a great performance, as like people are saying, and this is it. We were clinical against Sporting, 4 goals in the first half. Got a chance, we scored. Got a chance, we scored. And this one, the half chances we got, we weren't scoring from. And we were like Sporting. Sporting could have had some goals against us. We were too open. And it's like, people not thinking. Is Pep playing, I said this last year before we played Spurs and got beat, that what will happen is they've got the pace. They've got the pace to do us. And we've got to be careful with that high line. You'll get Kane going into midfield and Son and whoever will, swap places. Kane will knock it forward. They'll go on and chase it. And what happened? Within 4 minutes, exactly that happened. Kane drops back. The ball comes, pushes it down the right. And Son, I don't know what Diaz was doing. There's lots of mistakes. So as a team, we didn't play very well at all. And, I think the way Pep sets it up, the team has to play really well to get the best out of the game and get us winning. Having said that, let's put it, last thing I'll say to start with, put it in perspective. We've won 14 out of the last 15 games. We've got 43 out of 45 points. We've gone from being several points behind Liverpool and Chelsea to being well clear. So, we can't. I can't swear, can I? We can't, show our backsides and cry about it because we've lost one game in 16. Let's put it in perspective. We're still top of the table. It's still in our own hands. We're still doing all right.
Absolutely. I mean, one thing that I did laugh at yesterday was when I watched a bit of the highlights back was the always seemed to be doing. I think we're at school because the guys kept putting their hands up for offsides. That's all. Diaz was doing it. Edison was doing it. They're all doing it. Laporte was doing it. It was quite funny watching, but hey, that's how it is. That's how they made us play. Right. Let's have a look at the teams. I'll come back to you, Paul. Let's have a look at the City team first of all. Obviously, one surprise to me. I was one out on my 11. Edison, Walker, Diaz, Laporte, Cancelo, Rodri, Bernardo, KDB, Sterling, Foden, and of course the one I got wrong, I had Mahrez in there, but obviously he put Mr. Gundogan in there. Paul, what are your thoughts on that, mate? Was that a good move? Did you think before the game?
Sorry, that was my cat just on across
the cat flies across the screen.
Yeah, it's massive. I've seen Pep moving a long time. Yeah, I thought Mahrez should have been in there. To be honest, I thought I thought we missed him. We just missed that stretch. It looked a bit unbalanced to me. Gundogan's a classic player. They just don't all, put them all together. They don't play well. That the formation that they picked, it just wasn't a good one for me. You kind of expected something to come on.
Right, yeah, Gundogan
has just turned up.
Can we have a bit of quiet, please? Ray. Yeah, Gundogan, was that a defensive move for you from Pep there? Or
well, if it was, it didn't work. I agree with Paul. Look, you got to. Let's be real. You got to put your best team out. That's it. We've got a week off before our next game. Our next game's next Saturday at 5:30 away at Everton, if I'm right. So we've got a week off before our next game. You put your best team out. And right now, Mahrez is in your best team. You saw with the penalty. He's probably our best penalty taker, most consistent scoring goals. So why are you not playing him? And he gives us that balance now with him there. You can have Foden on the left or Sterling on the left, Foden down the middle. Foden is a better prospect down the middle as a false nine than Bernardo. Foden does better pressing, as people say. But bringing... It's a funny thing. I mean, I've been puzzled why Gundogan's been dropped for so long. But to bring him back with KDB, I think is wrong. I think right now you have either or as your attacking midfielder, KDB and Gundogan. For me, I would much rather have Bernardo, Gundogan as my attacking midfield and KDB as the false nine. Much rather that, because I'm sure there's a conversation that a few people will have. Is KDB, does he deserve to be in the team? People say he's your best player, but I said the same last season. He may be your best player, but he might not be the best fit for the team. Certainly not in midfield when you've got Gundogan there. If you want KDB, if you want to force him into the team, play him up top. I'm happy enough with that. Play him up top, but it didn't work. It was, the balance was wrong. Rodri had an off day. There was no protection for the defense. The defenders didn't want to, they didn't care about the protection. It was crazy that Diaz won that first goal. You're in effect the last man. You're taking a huge, because you know where everybody else, there's only 2 defenders there, okay? The 2 centre-backs. You're taking a huge risk that you get it right. A huge risk that you get it right because you're not catching Son. You know, he was better off, I think, just dropping back. Surely he could see the play. He could see the play. And I think it's much more of a risk to do what he did to try and get him offside than to say, right, I'll step back a couple of yards. I know this is coming over the top. I know he's faster than me, but I'll do this. And I think if he'd stepped back a yard, he'd have been able to stay with Son, jockey him, let other people come back and give us some more protection. Whereas he made the decision and we were gone, basically. You know, you can't blame Edison. But it happened to us last season. You know, you'd get, what's his name? Kane going back into midfield, Son and whoever was their other attacker last season, was it Moura, Lucas, going forwards and hitting us. And they're just too quick for us. And our defence wasn't up for it.
No, I mean, obviously, I wasn't too. When I saw the Spurs team, I'll be honest, I'm going to sort of tell you, I'm going to come up with some names here, Paul, that make you laugh because, you know, I know, like...
I love this. This is a highlight for me. Yeah.
Pronouncing the team names. It was Lloris, Davis, Dyer, we're all right up to now, Romero, Sessegnon, Højbjerg, Betancourt, Emerson, Son, Kulusevski. I was quite impressed with Kulusevski, actually. I thought it was a free man up front for Spurs. I thought he did very, very well. And, of course, Mr. Kane. Paul, obviously, Ray's been talking about that first goal. And, obviously, that is a front three that could cause us problems. Were you worried before the kick-off, Paul, with that Spurs lineup?
I think you've always got to be, to be honest. I mean, because they're proven, aren't they? And I know, forget all the debacle around us signing Kane last year, but you know, Son for me is the star man in that team, and he's the player that you've got to look for. And you give him as much space as we were giving him yesterday, and he's him and Kane will just link up and do that every week. That was so easy, bread and butter stuff for him yesterday. So
yeah,
easy.
I think,
too easy.
Yeah, Ray, I think obviously an impressive front three, but certainly a defence we could get at, Ray, don't you think?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, Spurs fans were pretty much to a man expecting a pasting. You know, they were if they lost 2 or 3-0, they'd have taken that before the game. They were expecting to get beat. You know, they didn't have many chances. Well, no, I'll take this right. They didn't have many touches in our box. I read somebody had 7 touches in our box and scored 3 goals. But we give them so many chances. That's what I don't understand. You know, you'd have expected it to be the other way around. That City, yes, we had a lot of ball, a lot of possession. We didn't have too many, I'd say, clear-cut chances, but enough to win the game if our defence had done their job. You know, if we're scoring 2 goals, we should be winning games. We shouldn't even be drawing them. If we're scoring 2 goals, our defence should make sure the opposition don't score that many against us. And we were bad both ends of the pitch.
Well, Paul, yeah, I mean, Ray's talked a bit about that first goal, which was embarrassing for me, to be honest with you, after 4 minutes, I think. And it's the sort of goal we did sort of let in a few times back in the day when Pep first came. We were prone to letting in those sort of goals early doors. I thought we got past that. I thought we had a pretty good defence now. But as Ray intimated there with Diaz, poor decision-making from Diaz, wasn't it?
Yeah, I prefer Diaz when he's with Stones, to be honest. I think that partnership's a lot stronger and they communicate better. And I think Stones has got a bit more pace. They were just all at sorts. I don't know if they were trying to do a high press. It's like you said earlier, they were just constantly waving their hands in the air. It was like they were in a disco or something, you know, in Ibiza, in a rave. They were just constantly had their hands up looking for the high offside. And it was like, you know, it was different to how I've seen them play. They've not normally played like that. Now, whether it's something they were trying different, trying to catch them offside because of the way Tottenham played, trying to catch us on the break. But surely that's a bad tactic to play, because if it goes wrong, as it did yesterday, that's what happens.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, it's a 4th minute, Ray. It's not the end of the world. We've got 86 minutes plus injury time, which will be a bit of, obviously. You know, we don't get much for wasting time, do we? But we do get a bit of injury time occasionally. It was probably about 17 minutes in. I think Cancelo went close with one. Again, for me, Cancelo's bit of an early man at the moment. He's doing a lot right, but not quite finishing it off as an assist or a goal. I mean, obviously Cancelo sort of was our main threat going forward, Ray. But do you agree with what I'm saying? He's just a little bit of an early man.
Yeah, I mean, the funny thing is when you listen to the commentators, I was watching the extended highlights this morning, and the commentators are all saying, "Oh, it's all at Cancelo. He's a danger man." He was. The left-hand side was where it was at. The right-hand side really wasn't doing that much compared to the left. We had Sterling getting through, Cancelo getting through, but everything was, like you say, it was nearly right. And that's the thing. As I said, against Sporting, we made lots of better decisions in the final third when we were through, when we had a chance to pull it back and or cross it and create a good goal-scoring opportunity. And here we were just missing our men. The crosses were going behind people, or the flicks weren't going in, or Lloris would make a couple of good saves. We hit the post and whatever. So we had, I think, plenty of chances. Clinically, we weren't there. Cancelo had some good shots, but it's like, what's that old saying? A miss is as good as a mile. So if you're shooting, it could be a cracking shot. The goalie's got no chance. But if it's not on target, you might as well hit it to the corner flag. You've got to hit your shots on target. That's a minimum requirement. If you're not hitting them on target, you ain't scoring.
Yeah, I mean, 20 minutes, Paul. Gundogan, obviously, he's got him in there. We know we can score these little goals in and around the box. That's what he's used for. He sort of glanced the post, Gundogan, on 20 minutes. And obviously, we had to wait another 12 or 13 minutes for him to actually get us back in the game. And at that stage, 33 minutes in, I personally thought, all right, we can go on and win this now. Settle down. Let's go on and win it. Obviously, Mr. Lloris, not my favourite goalkeeper in the world. I think one of the weakest Premier League goalkeepers as far as consistency is concerned. He's quite capable of pulling off a great save, but he's quite capable of looking a total idiot as well. Paul, that goal, I thought KDB must have fouled him to spill it, but I think he just bottled it, didn't he?
Yeah, he just popped out of the onion basket, didn't it? I don't know what he was doing there. As you said, yeah. I think it was a little basket. It was. I'd be so frustrated if he was my goalkeeper, because he can pull off them, a great one-on-one or a spectacular one for the TV saves, but it's no consistency, and that's why we should have been peppering that goal. We should have been having shots from everywhere at him, because he's always got a spill on him. And we didn't. We still kept messing about, trying to, walk the ball in the back of the net. And when you've got a keeper like that, you've got to have as many shots as you can on target, because the chances are he's going to spill a few. And that's what he did. And that's where we scored, because of his mistake. But we didn't learn from that. And we've not learned from every time we played Tottenham. That's what we should be doing when you've got a keeper like him in the net. Chances are you're going to score from his mistakes.
Yeah, we did. Fortunately, Gundogan was calm, as we've seen him before, calm and collected, and easily put that ball in there. And it was 33 minutes. I don't think, Ray, I'll come to you, I don't think there was anything much else in that first half. Certainly Tottenham didn't. Ederson wasn't really worried, apart from the goals, I don't think, apart from one chance in the second half we'll talk about. But that was about it, I think. And at half-time, 1-1, Ray, were you confident we could go on and win this?
You've got to be, aren't you? It's City. You'd like to think that, whatever advantages Spurs had in that first half, whatever tactical errors we'd made, Pep would sort it out. Well, you'd like to think he'd have sorted it out in the first half, but at half-time, he'd do whatever tactical changes, he'd make the changes that were needed, and we'd come out firing and have a little bit more urgency and a bit more tempo in that second half, because, we know we don't want to leave the door open for Liverpool to have a chance. We've got to keep slamming it shut. And you think, right, second half, we'll come at them, we'll have a proper go at them, we'll tighten up at the back. It didn't really work out like that, did it?
Yeah, well, I'll stick with you, Ray, because let's go into the second half. I'll just stick with you, Ray. It was 59 minutes before, sadly, once again, for some reason, we let a second goal in. Again, I did mention off air to Paul before you joined us, Ray, that this zonal marking business, we sort of had players in the zones, but they weren't actually marking any players. So we were marking the zones, but we weren't actually marking Tottenham players. That's a problem. It's no use having zonal marking if you've got your players players in your boxes, but they're not actually looking at where the opposition is. And prime example, that 59th minute goal for Kane. I mean, it was reminiscent of Sterling's goal a few weeks back, wasn't it, where he side-footed it into the top corner. I can't remember who we were playing at the time, but it was fairly easy, Ray, wasn't it? I mean, again, very poor defending.
Was that before the offside goal? Or was it
before?
After?
Yeah.
So they had an offside. So they were having chances. That's the point. They had the offside goal as well. I mean, it's like we didn't want to mark. You know, I agree. I'm not a big fan of zonal marking. It seems to work a lot of the time, but when it doesn't, it just looks stupid. It looks so childish that you're marking space when, you know, space ain't scoring the goal. It's the fellas that are moving around in the space, and someone had to go with him. One of the centre backs had to move with the guy, you know. And you're also relying on the opposition not putting quality passes in. And if they've got quality players,
well, some was on the ball, wasn't he? You know, you're going to get a reasonable chance of a good quality ball there.
Yeah. So you know, you've got to be alert. You've got to be flexible enough to know that zonal doesn't work all the time. You've got to still focus on your men, and you can't leave him to. I hate this leaving him to somebody else. Take the responsibility. But if that's the way Pep wants it, well, you know, you're leaving the responsibility to somebody else who might not be expecting you to leave the responsibility to him, and you know, before you know it, the ball's in the back of the net.
Well, I'll come to you, Paul. Obviously, we were 2-1 down. Lloris, again, we talked about him before, did a pretty good save from Cancelo. About the 60-odd minute, and that was not a bad save. We made a change. Pep made a change, Paul. We were not used to, obviously, 60 minutes. A little bit later, it's 68 minutes, which is a bit odd. We went, you know, obviously going 2-1 down after 59 minutes. Most managers probably would have thrown someone in very quickly, wouldn't they, to try and change things up. But obviously, he brought on Mahrez. And then we talked about that offside goal. That was the 74th minute, Paul, where obviously it looked as though it's 3-1, mate, didn't it? With Kane again at that stage, 74 minutes. And it wouldn't have been any less than Spurs deserved, even though we had most of the play. We didn't even look as though we were going to score, did we?
No. As I say, it's when the VAR, I'd resigned myself to the fact that it was a goal. The lad sat next to me said he's offside. Well, we were shouting offside for nearly everything today. So I was, just arms are going up. So it was like, I just resigned it to being a goal. And then when the referee went over to look at it, I thought, well, here we go. This will be disallowed, because they always are when they're big dragged over, aren't they? We got off with that one. I've not seen it back, to be honest, so I don't know.
I think it was the guy who put the cross in that was offside slightly. Kane and the guys in the middle were fine. It was the guy who received the ball on the wing who was slightly offside. Yeah, so we got away with that one. Obviously, that will sting us. That will sting us into action. That will sting us into saving this game and getting a winner perhaps as well. But Cancelo again, the nearly man again. He pulled out a good save from Lloris again. Cancelo, another Cancelo effort. And Ray, will come to you. Not a lot then. That was 75th minute, and then again, bit cross after cross into the box with this 7-foot striker that we haven't got. Perhaps he should have brought Delap on. What do you think?
Well, there was some in the air. There was some on the floor as well. I can't remember. Was it Gundogan or somebody who tried to flick one in? But they were not in either the players had moved into the wrong area, or they'd gone ahead of the ball, or the balls were cut back behind them. Walker put a fizz one in, and we were just. Some people say we weren't having any luck. Well, maybe we had all our luck against Sporting, and I always say, that's why I try and say when we have a game where we score lots of goals from not too many chances, you've got to look at that and say, doesn't mean you were superb. It just means you were clinical. And once you're clinical, once you get a goal or two up, the game's gone. And we've seen this season, once we go behind, the game's gone. And it's really tough. I think we've come back once in 6 or 7 games to win, and that was against Arsenal in the last minute. So we're not great coming from behind to win games this season. But we were just struggling. It was like, we weren't trying to smash that door down. We were knocking politely, trying to get in. Please, Spurs, let us score. We should have been absolutely battering them. And if you're going to put high balls in, get someone who's 6'4" or whatever. Get your biggest, strongest, burliest player. get any. I wouldn't have complained if you put John Stones up front just to get in their faces and get on the end of crosses, or like you say, Delap. But if you're going to do that, have someone there who can actually make a difference. If you got Foden or Sterling or whoever, these guys, they're not going to really mix it in the air with anybody.
No, I mean, obviously, as I say, we peppered it. We didn't look as though we were going to score, but we got a bit of a break, didn't we, Paul? We got a bit of a break, 89 minutes. Mr. Taylor didn't want to give it us. He didn't want to give us this penalty, but obviously the players were fairly adamant. They had their arms up again, saying, it's a penalty. It's a penalty. Yeah, I mean, I've watched it back. I don't know if you've watched it back, Paul, or obviously I couldn't see it at the game. I was up the other end, so it's very hard to see what was going on. It looks as though he had his arm up. If you've got your arm up, it's a penalty, mate, isn't it? I don't see any other thing Taylor could do once he checked the screen like that he did. What do you think, Paul?
Yeah, no, I agree. I have seen that replay. Again, it was put your hands in the air if you don't care, wasn't it? It was like being at the Ibiza disco with the City players with their arms up, wasn't it? You've got to give them. It's a penalty. It was a penalty, and I was still stood there, sort of like, because I'm actually a away fan, so I was stood there thinking, oh, here we go. We're all getting excited, and he's going to miss it. We're going to miss the penalty. But to be fair to Mahrez, he absolutely smashed it in the back of the net, didn't he? Top corner. It was a great penalty.
We'll come to Ray, because I know you may not know, Paul, but Ray's a very big Mahrez fan. He's always banging the drum for Rio, constantly banging the drum. Fantastic composure, Ray. I mean, he has to wait 2 or 3 minutes. It was, and I know we laugh about it, but you have to agree. I said he was undroppable, Mahrez. Obviously, he wasn't, because Pep dropped him. But I have actually said he's undroppable because he's the only one who can score penalties.
Yeah, I agree. Look, you guys make fun of me about Mahrez. I've got a Mahrez shirt. Was it last season I bought a Mahrez shirt? You guys are still ripping it. When Mahrez joined City, I was there at his unveiling. I went especially with my lad.
Don't push it, Ray. It was almost believable.
In fact, when I was in France, I went around where when I was on the other channel, I was doing some YouTube stuff. And I went to Sarcelles, where Mahrez grew up. I went to his hairdresser, have a chat with him. He was showing me pictures of him and Mahrez.
You didn't go for an haircut, did you?
I did go for an haircut. I tell you what, that was 10 quid. I could have done it myself to get this. It's not exactly hard. But so I do love Riyad Mahrez. Don't worry, mate. But look, he's so confident with taking these penalties. Now, some people said, oh, maybe he was lucky because it came off the underside of the bat. It was pretty much a perfect penalty. Goalie had no chance. There's no way any goalkeeper in the world is saving that, because no one's going to jump that high for it. So it was a perfect penalty. And you think 2-2 at that point, I was thinking I'd take that, because even if Liverpool come and beat us at ours, and we win all our other games, we win the title by a point. Now I think we're going to be behind on goal difference as well. So I don't want it to get, if they beat us, we're still in our own hands. But that 1 point, it's such a huge difference. If you think back, we beat them in the formidable seasons by 1 point. That 1 point makes such a difference. And walking out at 2-2, look, it's the overall scheme of things. It's a really poor result against a shocking Spurs side who are getting beaten left, right, and centre. But it's better than nothing. And I thought, okay, just don't leave the door open again. Maybe go for the winner. We've got the time to go for a winner, but don't leave that door open again. You cannot be letting any more goals in. And as much as you want City to do the right thing, it's typical City. They go and do what's the wrong thing to do. Again, it's a cheap cross that came in. No one was putting pressure on out wide. And what Walker was, I have no idea. What Walker was doing. Did he owe Kane some money that, rather than pay me, let him have a free head? I don't know what was going on.
I think he got bullied out of it, mate. Simple as that. I think Walker just got bullied.
How can Walker get bullied out? Well, how can Walker get bullied out?
Because he can be a mad ass. We know that. He can be petulant.
He's just not concentrating enough.
Yeah, I mean, me and Paul were talking off air about this thing of, for me, in that sort of position, Diaz should be marking someone like Kane, but obviously in zonal marking, it doesn't work like that, does it? Because the ball went to where Walker is sat in his zone, and that is the problem, obviously. But even before that went in there, Paul, I wasn't actually panicking about this. I wasn't actually worried too much because we seem to have men back. He seemed to get that Kulusevski, whatever he's called, got it on the right. But again, as I think Ray mentioned it early on, if these guys put a quality ball in, you've got to defend it, and we just didn't, Paul, did we?
No, as you say, Walker got bullied. Kane just came straight across him and got to the ball before he did, and he was. I'm no coach, I'm no football coach, but his body position was wrong. His take-off point when he went to head the ball was wrong. I think he was caught napping, and I think we just kind of thought, play the game out, and it's done now. We've got 2 points. We've got a point, and it's 2-2.
95 minutes. We only had a couple of minutes left. I think half the ground began to empty by then, guys. Ray, we'll finish with you. Obviously, stats are a bit disappointing. 21 shots by City, 6 on target. 21 6 on target, and I think Spurs had like 6-5 on target. Something still like which was remarkable. But we've had it before, haven't we, with Spurs? Let's be honest about it. Was it a bad day in the office for City, or are you impressed with Spurs, Ray? What do you think going forward for them?
What Spurs have done in the last 3 or 4 games can't leave you impressed. They're in a shocking run of form, letting goals in, looking really weak, heads are down. They turn up to City and beat us. It just worries me about Everton as well. We got them next. It's exactly the same. Everton is struggling. Everybody's expecting City to give them a thumping. It doesn't work out like that. So for me, it wasn't just a bad day at the office. It was worse than that. It really was worse than that, because there's no way we should have been letting 3 goals in against Spurs. I don't care they got Harry Kane and Son. We should have been a lot more resolute. We should have had better planning and strategy and tactics and personnel and setup and all that. And you got to, for all the great things Pep does, he's human. He's going to make mistakes. He makes mistakes. And the players make mistakes, but it's frustrating and annoying, as Paul said right at the top of the show, that people make mistakes and several of them don't have a decent enough game. And as soon as that happens, the team is gone, because we're not working as a team anymore. We're working as a few players and half a team. And the way we want to play, you've got to have everybody on it.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Conte was happy. I saw his reaction to that 3rd goal going in. The good point, by the way, guys, the good thing about the thing was the 40 minutes applause, of course, for Darren Blair, wasn't it? I think that was a wonderful gesture. And I think, obviously, Sky got involved as well at some stage with that. And that was one of the plus points in a horrible day that was done. And obviously, we all send our condolences and best wishes to friends and family of Darren for that. And great for all the City fans. I'm not sure. I think the Spurs fans joined in. I'm not too sure they knew what was going on, to be honest with you. But
no, not many of them.
No credit for that. Just a quick word before we leave this game. Paul, what does John Stones have to do to get a start in these games? I mean, what the hell does he have to do? Does he have to speak Spanish? Does he have to learn Spanish language? I have no idea. Surely now he's a shoo-in for the rest of the season, is he?
I think he has to basically nobble a few of the other players, I think, to get in. Like Ray said earlier, I'd have stuck him up front yesterday, just to have a target man to give us a chance, when it all got a bit desperate, not quite sort of Stuart Pearce with sticking a goalie up front, but
Mr. James.
It's Mr. James. Yeah. But no, I just think that partnership with Stones and Diaz is stronger central defensive wise. They just seem to have a better understanding with each other, and a game like that yesterday, we know what Tottenham bring. It was no surprise to anybody the way they scored the goals and it was textbook Tottenham, and that's if you let them play. I think Stones would have done a better job in there, to be honest.
Ray, I mean, obviously, the only real players that are not getting a go at the moment is Jesus, who's been injured. Obviously, Palmer's borderline anyway, isn't he? Let's be honest about it. Yeah. But John Stones, Ray, I mean, obviously, do you agree with what we're saying? Why is he not in the team?
Pep does a funny thing. He did it last season where we started the season with Lampard was injured. Stones got a look in. Stones did well. He stayed. That was it. And Lampard would only come in now and again. He'd come in. I remember he'd come in and he'd have a dodgy game, and his audition. He spoilt his audition there. This season it's gone the other way. Stones was injured at the start. Laporte's come in. We had reasonable at the back at the start of the season, and Stones can't get looking. And I think that's wrong. Look, Pep knows the players better than us. He's the manager. He trains them, sees them every day. But for me, Stones and Diaz is a much better pairing. Miles is probably the wrong word, but much better. I think Stones is the best carrier of the ball out from the back. He's that guy. He heads the ball well out from the back. I don't think he'd have done what Diaz did yesterday. For that first goal. I don't think Stones steps up. I think Stones either steps up and gets it right, or he drops back and covers. I think Diaz just took the risk. He took the chance and hoped to get away with it, and he did it. So I don't know what Stones can do, but after yesterday's performance, it'd be harsh not to have Stones and Aki in the next game as a centre-back pairing, because, you should be letting 3 goals in against, regardless of how good some of the Spurs players are.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen that on Twitter. A few people have put teams up already for the next game, which we'll talk about in a second, obviously, and had Stones and Aki at the back, because those two guys haven't, as far as I can remember, not really let us down. They may have made the odd mistake here and there when they played, but they've certainly not let us down. And we can't. Can we say the same about Diaz and Laporte, Paul? I think we can say they have let us down, haven't they? Not just in this game. Occasionally they have. Great player. We love them to bits, but they've not been, it's not as though they're squeaky clean, and this is the first time they've done this.
Yeah, I think it's a back four, isn't it? So, however you're looking at the positions and stuff, it's a back four, and the whole back four didn't play well. I think Walker, Stones, and Diaz on that right-hand side.
I mean, because we accept it's a back three now, because we know Cancelo's not going to do sod all at the back, is he? Let's be honest about it. Yeah.
No, and perhaps that's where it gets imbalanced as well. But I think, them, for me, if we're going to do a back three, them for me are the back three. They've just got understanding and they kind of, feed off each other. They communicate better together. As you say, Aki's coming. Aki for me has been a bit of a revelation this season when he's come in. He's looked like a Rolls Royce of a defender. He's kind of nothing special. He just gets it done. Has to clear his lines if he has to. Nothing special, but he just does what he's supposed to do. And for me, it wouldn't bother me if they did bring, change the two of them and bring Stones and Diaz in. Stones and God forgot Aki. It wouldn't bother me. I wouldn't be worried if he did.
Okay, well, let's leave that game there, guys. Let's look forward. If that's the word we can use. Interesting game, isn't it? It's one of those games where, Everton fans won't be too dismayed. We're going to talk about Everton and City, aren't we, at Goodison Park? Another 5:30 p.m. kickoff, just to please everybody, just to keep everyone happy, on Saturday, 26th of February. As we're recording this, obviously Liverpool have got a game midweek. If Liverpool win that game, which in all fairness they should, they will be 3 points behind City on the same games. Right, so we're going to Goodison Park, Ray, on Saturday, the 26th of February. Another must-win game, as they all are when you've got teams like Liverpool breathing down your neck. You can't afford mistakes in the same way Liverpool can't afford mistakes in theory, because City are so wonderful. Well, sort of. What do you think? What do you think of this game? Are you looking forward to it now, or do you think it will be a banana skin? You might have mentioned it early on.
Look, it's like the Spurs game, You'd expect to win. Looking where Everton are in the table, how they've struggled this season. Lampard's come in. Okay, he's had a win or two, but mixed in that, they've still lost games. They're still not looking the business. They've still got players missing, important players. You'd like to think that it's a game that we should be going and giving them, I won't say a thumping, but we should be winning. I mean, they're still Everton, but they're still fighting for their lives. They're only 4 points above the drop zone, only 4 points above, if I'm right, above Watford. Same number of games played, 4 points. They got a game in hand. They're the same points as Newcastle. So Burnley and Norwich aren't too far behind. They're 5 points behind. Burnley have got a game in hand as well. So Everton are still looking over their shoulder. So you'd think with Lampard there, they're going to really be up for it. And I expect them to be up for it. But they're not a great team at the moment. They're not a great team. My only concern is, as I said, we go there, we are complacent, we don't take it seriously. We look at the league table, we look at their results. Look, they lost yesterday against Southampton. Okay, they beat Leeds, but Leeds are poor. They lost against Newcastle before that. If you forget the cup, you go back into January, they lost at home to Villa, they lost to Norwich, they lost at home to Brighton. So basically, their season's been...
They're going to beat us.
They better not. But that's it. But they've had a lot, like Spurs, they've had a poor run of form to get here. We're still on 14 out of 16 games or 13 out of 16. We're still in good nick. But we got to bounce back. Look, if we don't beat Everton, then we don't deserve to win the league title. Yeah. Simple as that. You can't go around losing 2 games on the bounce. And the one good thing about City is we win most of our games. That's why in the formidable season we beat Liverpool to the title, even though they only lost 1 game in the whole season. And this season, I think they've only lost 1 game, haven't they? This season, 1 or 2 games. So they've hardly lost
2, I think.
2.
I'm not sure of them.
They've not lost. They've lost fewer than us.
They draw more, haven't they? That's why they're behind us.
That's always been our strong point, is that we might lose the odd game, but generally we'll go out there and we will win loads. Liverpool lost 2 games this season. We've only lost 3. It's not a massive difference. But Chelsea have only lost 3, same as us, but we've won so many more games. That's what the difference is. We've got to beat them. So it's as simple as that. And I said we've got to win all our league games until we play Liverpool. We've got to do that and hope that they drop something somewhere along the line. And then they've really got to go at us when they come to Manchester. We can't go into that game with a deficit of fewer than 3 points. We've got to have that. We've got to have a lead of at least 3 points when we play Liverpool. Simple as that. We've got to keep winning. I don't want to get to a situation where we've lost a game or drawn a couple. They're ahead of us, and we actually have to go out and win that game.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but I mean, what Ray said there, Paul, it's very possible that could happen. We've certainly got tougher games coming up than Liverpool have. Obviously, Everton managed by the ex-City legend, of course, Mr. Lampard now. Obviously, he's not turned anything round as yet. As Ray was saying there, I think they've certainly lost 4 of the last 5, and they beat Leeds, which even teams like United can beat Leeds. So that's no great shakes, is it, guys? Let's be honest about it. No disrespect to Leeds, but I'm sorry, it isn't. So what were your thoughts about Everton, Paul? I mean, many years ago, it used to be a big bogey ground for us, didn't it? It's obviously not as bad now as it was, but could that bogey be starting again?
Not unless they're going to bring Fellaini back, because every time he played us, he destroyed us, didn't he? No, Everton will do us a favour, won't they? They'll roll over and have the tummies tickled, because they don't want the red half of Merseyside winning the league again, do they? So I'm quite confident that they'll roll over. But it's like Ray said there. Every game now is a cup final for us. I hope it's not a Champions League final, because he'll probably tinker with it. But we need to, if we get a run of games together like we've just had, where we've won the league and we've won the Champions League, haven't we? If we can win every game we've got left now, it's a simple thing. We've won the Champions League and we've won the league. So you've got to be positive. I'm trying to be positive for a change. Yeah,
well, we have to be positive. I say, as Ray pointed out in the first section, 40 43 points from 45 before this defeat and stuff like this. I mean, it's incredible. It is incredible. And it's only because of the situation we're in with Liverpool and City that it is a be-all and end-all when you draw games or you lose games you're not expected to lose. Ray, obviously we're talking Everton. What about the team then, Ray? Obviously this is it now between Tottenham. After the Tottenham game, there's no other games for City to play, so Pep doesn't have to panic. I think we've got an FA Cup game. Is it after the Everton game or is that the week after? I'm not too. I think is it the FA Cup after that? You know, guys, after Everton.
I haven't checked.
Yeah, I think we may have it, but at the end of the day, even if it is, he's got to play his strongest team, Ray. What is his strongest team? I thought it was more or less what it was yesterday, apart from certainly one player. Okay. What do you think, Ray? What do you think he's going to do?
The way I change the team right now, Laporte, he can warm his backside on the bench for a bit. And John Stones comes in. So I'll switch Ruben Diaz to left-sided centre-back. Rodri, you'll forgive him, a below-par performance. If Pep wants to play KDB and Gundogan, he plays KDB up top. That's it. If you want, or he goes back to what we were doing before. I mean, personally, I would have Bernardo and Gundogan as my attacking midfielders, like we had last season when KDB was injured, when we were awesome. As a team, we were, for a 6-week period, we were incredible as a team. Okay? So I would have those two. And up front, it's got to be, for me, Sterling, Foden, and Riyad Mahrez. No looking for anybody else. You can argue whether Foden should be a false 9 or whether KDB should be a false 9. Or whether
no Grealish coming back.
No chance. Absolutely no chance. He doesn't give enough. For me, he doesn't give enough. You can either look with your own eyes or you look at the stats. He's hardly provided any goals or assists this season, and he might look. He looks exciting, but he doesn't deliver. And we need to be delivering. We need to take all our chances, and his big thing at the moment. He holds onto the ball too long and does nothing with it, and then passes it around. He's just got to move it on quickly. So you've got to go back to what's worked. What's been working? Mahrez up front. Sterling has been a decent, all right, But look, Sterling had an off game yesterday. So did, I think, KDB. So did Diaz and Laporte. So did Rodri. And suddenly you're an average. Let's be honest, you end up being an average side. If you can let Spurs beat you, you end up being average. So, just please, Pep, pick your best side as often as you can. If there's injuries, fair enough. But you're not resting anybody for anything. It's not as if we've got a game in midweek. You've got nothing. You've got nothing coming up. And for several weeks, I think we've got that situation where we've got nothing coming up. That Peterborough game, I think, is in midweek. But apart from that, nothing coming up. Even the Champions League game is sandwiched between the derby on a Sunday, Champions League game on a Wednesday, and then you're away at Palace on the following Monday. So and you're 5-0 up from the Champions League. If you want to rest people, rest a couple of players on the Champions League, because I'd like to think we're not going to do a Monaco and throw this away 5-0. So play your best team as often as you can. Do what's right. Do what's been working. What's been working most of the time. Do what's right. Make the right changes. Respect your opponent. It's as if we didn't respect Spurs enough. They've done it, and they've done it to us so many times. Poch's beaten us. Beaten City, okay? Mourinho's beaten City as a Spurs manager. Nuno's beaten City. He won about 4 games in his time there. And Conte's beaten City. No other team has lost to those guys whilst they've been at Spurs, apart from City. So all I can say is the players aren't turning it on just because it's City. I think there's got to be some complacency there, some arrogance. And there's a fine line between arrogance and confidence. And sometimes you go over that line because there's no way 5 or 6 players should have played so poorly yesterday.
Well, there we go. Paul, I'll come to you. I mean, interesting there. I mentioned him in the team lineup. Ray's just literally mentioned him there. We've gone a whole pod without mentioning our most informed player, who, again, Pep sort of threw under the bus a bit yesterday with his role. And, of course, I'm talking Bernardo, Paul. He's not obviously being used and utilised as he should be. And yesterday, again, we didn't get the full benefit of him because Pep messed around and didn't play him where we know he can do a job. Obviously, he's a definite starter, Paul. Obviously against Everton. Do you agree with that? I think we all agree on that, don't we? Every City fan probably agrees on that at the moment. And as Ray was saying there, what sort of do you agree with the Ray's team? I don't think there's much there that he said that I would disagree with. But what do you think?
I think the only one that I'd sort of have to have a serious think about would be Foden. I don't think he's been doing enough for me, to be honest.
We might get on briefly for a couple of minutes about some other things that might be affecting his on-field activities, might be affected by his off-field activities. But I understand what you're saying, Paul, there with Foden, yeah.
I just think, again, of complacency, I think he's got maybe a little bit complacent and got a bit confident in that side. And I'd like to see, like Ray's nailed it on the head there, is just play the team what has done us proud week in, week out. Don't tinker with it now. He's too close. He's too tight. We're too close to winning the Champions League. We're too close to winning the league. Let's not tinker with things. If players are fit, let's just keep it as they should be. Let's get that strong bench back. Grealish, he doesn't get anywhere near this team at the moment. He's injured with shin splints, I believe. So that could be him out for most of the season.
It's another one where they say it could be Tuesday, it could be 3 weeks on Tuesday. It's
an awkward one, isn't it? So I think we've just got, like Ray said, we've just got to concentrate and respect the opposition. I think we get a perfect storm. I think what happens is the opposition step up, and we get complacent. We get, it seems to come when we've had a midweek game where we've been quite dominant. We were, very dominant, if you like, with a 5-0 result. And then did we get complacent going into this game? And then did they step it up? So the perfect storm erupted and it sunk the ship, as they say.
Yeah, well, yeah, my little thoughts, Everton. Yeah, strongest team for me. Stones is in my strongest City team always. So Stones for me has to be in that. I don't care how his shoe owns Stones in, but put him in that team because he has to be in that team at the moment. And of course, KDB didn't have the greatest game yesterday, but he worked. I tell you what, he worked. I've never seen KDB work so hard. He was running for takedowns and everything yesterday. I mean, I know that doesn't make up for a bit of class that he can perhaps not provide at times, but you can't say he's not putting it in, even though it's not quite working for him. But Stones for me is the only real change. Yeah. We've got to get him in, and we've got to utilise Bernardo properly as well. And some of the other players as well that Pep seems to be sort of moving around a little bit just to compensate and make changes to the team. And so play our best team, as Ray said, in the best positions they've got, and we'll be all right for that. A very tough game, very good, tough game at Everton, a very important game, as I say. By the end of next weekend, by the end of the Everton game, we could actually be back second in the league if all things go against us, which is all right. We've been in that position before with 11 games left. It's no big problem, but when you've been 13 points clear, even though obviously games in hand, it doesn't sound great, does it, guys? Anyway, thanks for that, guys. We'll have a quick minute or two. We don't want to bang on about this. There was some footage. We talked about Mr. Phil Foden. Some footage, Ray. Apparently from yesterday evening at this horrible rubbishy boxing thing that I didn't really watch or know much about. I know it wasn't very well appreciated, but a little bit of trouble. Obviously, he was in trouble with Pep a few games back for going out on the night. I mean, players are allowed to go out and enjoy the time. He went to a boxing match, and a lot of other City players were there, I think, Ray, as well, from what I believe. But it was only Phil who got into a little bit of trouble. What you thought? Any thoughts on that?
Well, first thing is someone was recording that on the phone, I think, before anything kicked off. On the little bit I saw. I told you guys beforehand, I was at my mum's house when I saw.
Yeah, because he showed him being shepherded into the room first before it all kicked off. Yeah.
So I don't know what was said because I didn't really want to turn the audio up with my mum sat there. I've made that mistake before. So I only saw the altercation and where someone obviously said something to Phil Foden's mum. I think it was his mum rather than his sister, and she pushed the guy and he sparked her. He just gave it a good. It was probably one of the better punches you saw on the night, actually, without making too light of it, because obviously, we're all in agreement that even in these days of equality and treating both sexes equally, we wouldn't be, it's not top of our list hitting a woman.
Even though obviously Mr. Foden's mum threw a few promising
I think
slaps and punches. Yeah.
So it's one of those things. You're out. You even though it's wrong for people to have a go and abuse and provoke you, someone's there with the camera because they know if they get a good altercation, a bit of fisticuffs, they can sell that to one of the tabloids, for maybe get a couple of grand out of that, maybe a bit more. There's and people look at it. There's mileage if you get a really good video. Who knows how much you could sell that for, and then you've got your 15 minutes of fame. One of you might have a bit of fame. You might get something out of it. It's crazy with social media these days. You can have one incident like that, and suddenly you're on YouTube making, doing videos and making money on football or boxing or whatever. It's crazy. So people are looking at that. So that's the first thing. So that provocation. But you've got to tell your family, and you've got to tell yourself that you've got to avoid these situations. You've got to walk away. And Foden was in the side room. His mum was going through the door. Just close the door. And, in your own privacy, you can say what you like about these guys who are outside effing blind at them or whatever, but don't get involved. And you can argue that it's wrong that these guys shouldn't say something. And, you could say that maybe she should be able to say something back. But in this day and age, you can't, because the risk is it will escalate and it will go somewhere that, it's now a problem for Foden and his mum and City as well. And it just gets out of hand. And now people are going to provoke him more and more. You'll see it at games. People will have a pop at him at games. I'm sure there'll be some.
Do you think it's affecting his play at all, Ray? The last few weeks, what happened? He's not played since this has happened, but obviously with what happened a few weeks ago.
Earlier in the season, I thought he was our second best player behind Bernardo. At the time, Foden hasn't played enough because he'd been out a bit, enough to be on the same level as Bernardo as a top City player this season. So that was my perception, that Foden was playing really well, and now he isn't. And people are going to put two and two together and say that's it could be anything. But it's just an easy link to make, that all the trouble and controversies he's had. He's had that one with Mason Greenwood when they were in Iceland, with the young ladies in his room. He's had the one going out on the town a few weeks back. He's had this. There might be one or two that we don't know about. He's got to keep his nose clean, because the players are saying that. I think it was Cancelo said he could be the best player in the world.
Yeah.
He's got so much. He's 22 years old. He's got so much. And if he wants to, have everything in football, he's going to have the money. The money's, it's already there. He's already made probably more than all three of us put together forever. He's making that. He's making millions a year. Okay, so the money side of things taken care of. Now it's his football. And it's a bit early to say this, but his legacy. What is he going to achieve? What is he going to win? How is he going to walk away from the game? Is he going to look back and people are going to say, wow, this was a guy who was up there with your Xavis or Iniestas or your Messis or your Ronaldo or whatever? Has he got, we don't know how far he'll go, but he's going to go really, really high if he keeps his nose clean.
That's it, isn't it? I mean, Paul, obviously, he's stuttering along at the moment for me. He's not been playing that great. He looks a bit of a shadow of what he has been, to be in all fairness. And these things aren't going to help. But as I say, guys are allowed to go out and enjoy themselves. But it could be a problem, Paul, going forward. Obviously, I think he's at an interesting time in his career at this point in time. Obviously, Pep will play him, but obviously, these things keep happening. He might suddenly not be one of the first names on the sheet on a regular basis, because if he's not putting the performances in either, Paul, which I don't think he has recently. What do you think?
To reiterate what Ray said there. I mean, at the end of the day, none of us condone hitting women. And what went on there is completely wrong. But if you're Phil Foden's family, you've gone to the boxing, it's back to the old sticks and stones will break me bones. Now, my mum wouldn't go with me to the boxing, so I wouldn't have to have that issue would never come along. But if somebody, one of my mates, for argument's sake, if I was famous and one of my mates was at the boxing,
you're not, mate. You're not famous. Well,
apparently
I
was on the screen on BT this week. That's about it.
I saw you. Actually, I saw you. You said that. Yeah, I saw your image.
Yeah, it wasn't good because I told the customer I was on a course and then they saw me on the telly. So that blew back in my face. But give all your friends and your entourage, as I'll call them, they've all got responsibility to you. They protect you. But wouldn't have protecting the night have been a better thing just to escort it into the room and shut up and let them call you what you want? You've got Phil Foden's mum and dad and family, sisters or whatever. Phil Foden's been this potential from being sort of like 5 or 6 year old. So they've grown up with it. So it's not like they've been thrust into the limelight. This has been going on for a bit, and this is going to happen. This will happen wherever you go. Wherever you go, you're going to get this. And it's the old adage that my mum said to me, sticks and stones will break your bones, names will never hurt you. Somebody called it, it's hard. Don't get me wrong, if somebody called my mum something or whatever, I'd want to rip their heads off. But if I was in a position of Phil Foden's stature, with fans of, there's going to be loads of United fans there, there's going to be loads of City fans, there's going to be loads of that going on, you're bound to get it. If you've got to control the situation.
Apparently, he did have a Scouse accent from what I've heard.
Oh, did he? Oh, well, he will have been. It'll be from London.
If he had a Scouse accent, he deserved it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But
that might all be hearsay. Allegedly.
The thing is, the little warning signs are there with Phil. The things with Greenwood, the hair colour, the stuff with his hair and the knocking about with Jack Grealish. There's loads of little things that are cropping up now, and you start thinking, Phil, please don't become Gaza. Don't have an entourage like Gaza used to have with Chris Miles, the ginger one, and all his mates, and Evans. Chris Evans and
Five Bellies,
and that's it. Danny, whatever he's Baker. Called, and Danny Baker. Yeah, you don't want that. He should learn and keep his head down. He has to graft for another 10, 15 years, and he's done, isn't he? Just keep your head down, lad. That's my advice.
Absolutely.
Keep your head down.
It will. I think it'll run for a little bit longer now, but as I say, at least we know in Pep, and I'm sure with the City back team, we're going to get a grip of something and get it sorted. There may be reasons for. I mean, at the end of the day, if players are at these sort of things, I would have thought they were all in private boxes and kept out of the way as best as they can. But obviously, they're going to mix with the riffraff like us occasionally, aren't they? So you've got to put up with it. You've got to bite the bullet sometimes and just get on and accept it's going to happen. We probably people watching this now saying, who's these three guys in the wear on the edge? There's probably I'm not seeing anything in the comments, but we're obviously going to get that. Listen, guys, it's been over an hour. It's been great chatting to you, obviously, about the woes of. It's always cathartic. Is it cathartic? Is that the word, to talk over a defeat and get it out of our system? And it was great to look forward to Everton, and obviously, hopefully, look forward to Mr. Phil Foden returning to a little bit of form. My thanks to you, Ray. Thanks for joining me today. That's much appreciated. And Paul and your family there in the background. many thanks for their input. I mean, you want to keep control of this family, Paul. You're famous now, mate.
They've all been out shopping, haven't they? They've all just come back, haven't they? And I've locked them in the room now. I'll put them in the conservatory. They're right now.
Anyway, thank you to obviously Paul, Ray, and I'm Bernard, as you know, and thank you all out there for hopefully enjoying this little podcast in good company. And obviously we're back next week, hopefully with better news after our next fixture. Far happier. Well, we are happy, aren't we, guys? We can't be miserable. We just got to get on with it. We take it on the chin, as we say, which is more than some of those boxers did the other night. That's for sure. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys, and hopefully we'll see you all again very, very soon. Thanks for watching.
Cheers. Bye-bye.